Now we're recording. Okay, take it away, John.
Okay, I want to welcome everyone to the 2021 King's Washington Area Alumni Club's Career Day program. My name is John Wetterow, and I'm a member of the King's class of 1970. I'm also a proud member of King's Washington Area Alumni Club's Executive Committee, known as KWAC for short. Okay, and I'm happy to be your host today and to welcome each of you, that's students, presenters, alumni, friends, and King staff, to the first virtual KWAC Career Day program. A KWAC Career Day is traditionally hosted here in Washington, D.C. by the KWAC Executive Committee. For many years, the exciting program has provided a wide range of professional opportunities to King students, thanks to the generosity of many King's DC area alumni and friends, many of whom are presenting today and or are observing in these sessions this year. If you haven't already, please be sure to mute yourself while our presenters are speaking. There will be a time at the end for Q&A, so save your questions for that time or put your questions into the chat box. King's is recording this session for future access. Okay, we've had 5 terrific sessions. We've had one gone, one finished already. We have this one, we have 3 more scheduled for Thursday. So this session, of course, is called Navigating the Federal Workforce. And our moderator today is Jeremy Sands. Jeremy Sands is a 1997 graduate of King's College. He is presently a project manager for Collins Aerospace in Annapolis, Maryland. He's a certified project management professional, and he leads multiple projects for the Information Management Systems program headquartered in Annapolis. He graduated from King's with a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology. He continued his education at Teachers College, Columbia University in 2012 with a Master's of Arts in Organizational Development and Change Leadership. In 2016, he completed an MBA from the University of Maryland Global Campus. He served 6 years in the U.S. Army from 1998 through 2004, being deployed to Iraq as a captain in 2003, and he was awarded a Bronze Star for Valor. So with that, we turn it over to Jeremy, and he can introduce his panelists. It's all yours, Jeremy.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you so much. Welcome, Mighty Monarchs. We're glad you can join us for this wonderful session. We hoped that we would have been able to host you down in DC this year, but unfortunately, COVID didn't let that happen. So we wanted to continue this wonderful program, and we're glad we can bring this to you virtually. Today, we're going to talk about navigating the federal workspace. We've got a lot of good tips and pointers for you and how to get a job in and around DC and in the federal government. With me today, we have Justin Fazzari, another King's College graduate, Love Rutledge from Fed Upward, and Lawrence President from OPM. So about our speakers today, you heard the brief introduction from John. Thank you so much for that, for those kind words. Talk to you a little bit about our other alumni host, Justin Fazzari. Justin got his PhD from George Mason in 2016. Prior to that, he went to the University of Georgia for a master's and started his undergrad at King's College, graduating in '99 with a Bachelor of Science, and then earning a Master of Science from King's as well. Justin is a regional economist who leads a team charged with building the first national broadband availability map for the Department of Commerce. He has a team that issues $1.6 billion worth of grants focused on broadband infrastructure and broadband access. Our featured speakers today is Love Rutledge. Love is a 2000 graduate of Tulane. She earned her master's in 2004 from George Washington and an additional master's in 2014 from the National Defense University. Love is the host of Fed Upward podcast, which is a broadcast for federal employees. She spent the last 21 years working for the Department of Defense and currently serves as the Director of Force Readiness under the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. Also with us today from OPM is Lawrence President. Lawrence got his bachelor's from Winston-Salem State University and an MBA from Clark Atlanta University. Lawrence is the Director of Recruitment Policy and Outreach and is a Senior Federal Recruitment Advisor. He runs the programs for Pathways, and he has previously spoke with us at our DC Career Day. Please welcome our featured guests, Justin, Love, and Lawrence. Okay, so our agenda today, we're going to talk about how do you get started in the federal workspace. We're going to talk about certifications and security clearances. We're going to talk about volunteering, a little bit about Love's tips and tricks on how to get into the DC network. We're going to talk about understanding the virtual environment in the current workspace. And we're going to talk about OPM and the Pathways programs. We'll leave the last 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A. So like John said, if you have questions, please hold to the end. But if there's something pressing and you want us to tackle something right there, and then you raise your question up in the chat, and Beth or Patrice can reach out and we can answer those questions the best we can. All right, so to get started, a career in the federal workspace is a rewarding and patriotic endeavor, right? Federal employees have a unique opportunity to impact projects that directly influence our democracy. A career in the federal workspace provides countless personal and professional growth opportunities that can be both advance your career's ambitions and support your life goals. The federal service can take you many places. There are plenty of opportunities all across the globe, and it's a wonderful, wonderful career. We've got a lot of alumni down here in DC that work in the federal workspace, and you'll hear personally from Justin, Love, and Lawrence and how to best pursue this. So getting started can be a very difficult journey, right? It's like the Lord of the Rings. It's like one of those tough paths. If you don't study and you don't prepare, you're not going to pass it. But we're here to show you how you can do that, right? 3 tips to get started for success. Do your homework, expand your network, and ask for help. If you're doing those 3 things, you will succeed, you will get an opportunity, and people will help you. So where do you start? Well, getting started in the federal workspace typically starts in the USAJobs.gov website. This is the home base for the majority of federal jobs within this career track. This website, although very robust, it's not very intuitive at times. You're going to need to ask for help or ask from somebody who's navigated this website in the past. It takes a little bit to get to know how to get around it and what you need to know. Number 1, you want to know the job codes. If you're looking for a particular field, USA Jobs has broken these down into different job codes, and those job codes have requirements. So if you do a little bit of homework, understand the job codes, you'll know what you'll need to put on that resume, you'll know what the requirements are, and you'll know what opportunities lie ahead of you. Next thing, understand the hiring paths. Not every job on USA Jobs is open to the public. Some jobs are specific for veterans. Some jobs are specific for civil servants. And there's other jobs that are only available for those that are currently in that track or employed within the federal government. So you want to know the hiring paths. If you look at the image to the right here, there's a little picture of what the different hiring paths are. You want to do a little bit of homework and know what lanes you can apply to in those hiring paths. If you want to know more, you can click on the USAJobs.gov and do a little bit of homework in and around how to navigate this website. Resume tips. Going back to the job codes, you want to know the keywords for that job. Within each job post, there are keywords there. You will want to use those keywords in your resume. Each government entity or each program have different tools that will sift through your resume and only search for those keywords. If you don't put them in the resume, your resume is not even going to make the pile. So make sure you know what those keywords are. You want to tailor each resume to match the job. You don't want to just create one resume in there and try to apply to everything. Each job has different keywords, different attributes, and different skills. So when you apply, put a new resume to match each one. There is a resume builder on the website. We would recommend that you avoid it. It will show you different pointers, but it doesn't match everything that you will need, and you have to recreate the resume builder every time you apply to a new job. Best tips are find someone that has a resume for a job in that position. Reach out to LinkedIn, reach out to your network. Find someone that has a resume for a job that you're trying to apply for and model that in some example or some form. There are skill sections within the website. You want to fill out each of those skill sections to your best ability. And if you've done some type of skill at one time or another, put it down. You'll want to save your resume as a PDF. Not everyone's formatting styles are the same as yours. So if you create it in Word and you have 12 font in a special character, it may not come across that way when it goes across to the other person's desk. If you put it in a PDF, it will always come out in that format. Lastly, if you have the ability to do it and you have the funds, recommend hiring a professional USA Jobs resume writer if you can. You can find them on LinkedIn, you can Google them. There are people that do this, and it's not a lot of money. You know, spending $100 or $200 to get that resume is well worth it to get that $60,000 or $70,000 job to get started. Certifications and clearances. So one of the key factors within the DC market is understanding what certifications are required for each job. A certification in itself can be the one single thing that'll get you that job. Some examples of certifications are project management professional, right? You could be a AWS, which works with Amazon Web Services. You can have an ITIL, which is an information technology library certification. So there are a lot of different certifications out there that can help you get the job. I recommend doing a search and see what the top 10 certifications are out there and pick one of those that might be within your path. The other thing that we come across in DC are clearances. There are a lot of jobs that surface around the Department of Defense or other activities that require you to have a security clearance. Previous military, law enforcement, or first responders have a leg up because they may have already activated this at one time. The key to getting a security clearance is maintaining your references, keeping your past addresses, and always staying connected with your previous work experiences. because your security clearances, when you submit one, they're going to go back and ask those folks, how were you as a worker? Where did you live? Sometimes you have to go all the way to 10 years back. So keep an active directory on your background. If you want to learn more about security clearances, I put a link on here, gogovernment.org, and it'll share all the tips and tricks on what you would need to do to prepare for those background checks. And there's a special website just for clearance jobs in itself, and it's called KWAC. One other tip is volunteering. If you volunteer for different organizations that support federal initiatives, this could be a window to getting that job. Places like Peace Corps, internships, summer seminars that work with the government will open those doors and show that you have that interest or that experience. And again, any type of military, National Guard, or first responders, this is something that you could add on there as well. All of these are great avenues to providing that career opportunity in federal service. And it's the things that you want to start thinking about now, so you create that pathway. Up next, I'm going to hand it over to Love Rutledge. She's going to talk a little bit about the tips and tricks on getting into DC.
Hi, folks. Hoping you can see me here soon. My camera is on, but I can't see my own picture, so I'm not sure if you can see it, but thank you for having me today. Again, my name is Love Rutledge. I'm the host of the Fed Upward podcast, which is a place for federal employees and those seeking employment in the federal government to find tips and tricks to navigate through everyday problems. And if you are a job hunter, I have quite a few episodes for you on resume writing, how to get your foot in the door, how to get started, and what mistakes to avoid. So if you go to the link on this slide, you can find my podcast, or you can find me on Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio, and as well as Spotify. So you can find me in all those places if you just search fedupward.com. So I started the podcast a couple of years ago because I found myself searching for a variety of information sources that just didn't exist. And so I thought, I'm going to start one and take some of the information that comes from places like the Office of Personnel Management, like one of our other speakers works, and try to take that and distill it into language that's a little easier for folks to understand. So my first offering is to go and listen to my podcast and let me know what feedback you have. I have a Facebook group. You can join that, and you get a lot of information about what's going on in the federal government and what issues are facing federal employees right now. So moving to the next slide, there are a few things I want to make sure you know as a job seeker. I have been a hiring official quite a few times, and I will tell you that I will, if you show up on the list of names of qualified applicants through the USAJobs process, go and Google you and look for you on LinkedIn and see if there is anything crazy out on the internet about you. And if there is, you might have some explaining to do. So make sure you clean up your social media and make sure that folks can find you on LinkedIn. Government professionals do use that as a tool. And so not only for folks looking at you if they are a hiring manager, but also for seeking out contacts within the federal government, you need to have an up-to-date LinkedIn profile. And I actually have a podcast on how to polish up your LinkedIn profile to look professional, but you want to make sure you're highlighting your achievements, your major skills and abilities, and that you're, again, using LinkedIn as a tool to connect with professionals in your target field of interest. It may seem weird to send a cold connection request or email message to someone working in the federal government that you've never met before, but I will tell you that most people who are public service oriented, who are mission focused, want to share the good news and the stories about what they do every day, and they're eager to bring young professionals into the fold. So reach out. Most people are going to respond positively, and I want to tell you that I am happy to connect with any of you who are interested in making that connection, and I'm happy to put you in touch with anyone in my network who I know in an agency or department for which you want to work. I also recommend that you take a look at the Twitter accounts for the leaders in any agency or department that you're targeting, because whatever is the hot topic of the day is going to pop up on that Twitter feed. So take a look at that as well. And then look for professional organizations that you can join for either for free or for a nominal fee that will help you link up with professionals who are already in public service. I listed a few below. There are tons more. I'm happy to chat with you again via my email account or LinkedIn account, which is at the end of this presentation. So drop me a line. But whatever you are or whoever you are seeking out, you can find them in some kind of professional organization affiliated with the federal government, and you can leverage that. Trust me, people are very eager in these organizations to bring in new blood, the next generation of talent, and to network with folks and give them advice. So please do leverage these organizations. Next slide, please. Okay, cast a wide net. I say this because a lot of people watch a television show, or they have this idea in their head that they want to be an FBI agent or some other job that sounds sexy and exciting. And I will tell you guys, you're probably not going to become an FBI agent right out of the gate. You're going to have to enter into the department, understand the culture, work your way into those desired positions. So you want to get your foot in the door. Once you're in the federal government, it is much easier to move around. You are more competitive and you are kind of inside the firewall, if you will. Earlier, you heard about announcements in USA Jobs that outline the type of vacancy. Some of them are only available for people who are already in the federal government. So again, once you have your foot in the door, it opens up more opportunities for you and you are eligible to apply to other jobs. So don't think you're going to get that amazing position right out of the gate. You're going to get a lower tier position. And that's what you should be shooting for to work your way toward your dream job, doing the kinds of things you want to do. And if you can't get your foot in the door, you should consider working for either a contractor, a consulting firm, or maybe in your senator's office, in your representative's office on the Hill to gain a perspective through the legislative branch. You can serve as a federal employee through the legislative branch as well. So please don't overlook those opportunities. And then I want you to make sure that you're staying up to date on what's going on with the federal government writ large. And I've copied some links into the slide here. You can click on any of these, particularly Government Executive Gov Loop and Federal News Network. They have so much great information out there. And then the FedFam Facebook group is populated with 20,000 current federal employees and their families. So if you join that group, you will literally see the questions, everything from health insurance to job openings in that group. And folks are extremely supportive and willing to help you if you are looking for a specific job in a specific location. So again, check out these sites, stay up to date, particularly if you have an interview coming up. You can look at what's hot in the agency or organization that you are targeting or interviewing with and understand the news of the day impacting the folks you will likely be talking to on that interview. I'll hand it back over to Justin, I believe, who's up next to talk about federal employment writ large across the country and the virtual environment.
Justin, can you hear us? Did we lose you?
Looks like he's still on.
Yeah. Let me get started for him and hopefully he'll jump on here. So a little bit about the virtual environment. You don't have to live in DC to work in the federal workspace, and you don't have to physically be in DC to work in DC. I currently have a couple relatives that work in DC, but they're not physically there. They live 90 miles out. They work virtually a majority of the time, and every once in a while have to travel into DC. So there's a lot of opportunities to work within the federal government and within DC and not have to be in that physical location. Currently, we've got over 2 million federal employees, and 85% of the federal employees do work out DC. If you take a quick glance here at the map, this is a population per state of federal employees. So you can see where the number of jobs are available.
I'm back, Jeremy, if you can hear me.
Oh, great. Thanks, Justin.
Sorry about that. I think Jeremy covered this slide pretty well, but the key is, you know, look for areas around the country that maybe you're interested in working in, find out where that federal footprint is. In Colorado, we have a lot of defense jobs, a lot of Department of Interior jobs. Looking around the country will help you figure out where those offices are. If you go to the next slide.
Did we lose you, Justin?
Knowing the virtual environment.
Yep.
Okay, so really, what you want to do is, you know, this is applicable to everyone now because everyone's working virtually. So whether you're in DC or working in a regional office, you'll want to take more initiative than when you're able to work in person. And so there's really less opportunities to run into folks in the hallways or jump over to someone's office or their cube. So a couple strategies on how to address that. You want to do frequent check-ins with staff on your team and managers. It shows you're invested in them. It shows them that you have interest. You want to ask questions when appropriate, and just keep that communication line going back and forth. You want to prepare weekly progress reports. So it shows you know how to track your results, track your work, and it precludes your manager from coming to you with updates on things if you can prepackage it in, you know, say a one-page email. One thing virtually, there's a lot of work and assignments that come up that normally wouldn't come up. So, you know, volunteering for things that are sort of outside your lane are also really valuable for your manager. It shows you're reliable, and it shows you have initiative, so that when the next project comes up that may be more favorable to you, your manager will think of you because you volunteered before. And finally here, volunteer to help out colleagues. So this will build your trust and camaraderie, especially in a remote environment where you can work on projects with colleagues or help them out. That's always going to help build your trust within the office and really work for you. And then finally, hone your communication skills. So, you know, think about how to communicate best with staff. Some folks like to work through the phone. You know, most people use email. A lot of people jump on things like Skype or Zoom or things like that. So figure out what works best for your team. Succeeding outside of Washington, D.C. So you want to work on whatever time that your office works on or your manager. A lot of times that's East Coast. So start at a similar or same time as your manager and your team start. That'll keep you from getting behind if you're on a different time zone. Also, potentially your day can be over earlier because if you're starting earlier on a more Western time zone, then you might be done earlier, have more to your day when your work day is done. You can offer to mentor new employees. So when new employees come on board, especially in the virtual environment, it's really helpful for new employees to have someone to kind of bring them through the orientation process, or at least be someone to bounce ideas off of. And then you'll create a really good work outline. Stay connected to DC. So if you have opportunities in offices outside DC, sort of once the pandemic is over, make sure you take opportunities to go back and visit the office and meet colleagues there and develop relationships in DC. And again, that goes with the next one, visiting. And so that gets you connected, and it gets you knowing the folks that are driving a lot of your programs, and you can develop good relationships with those folks. And you can be the point of contact for your office outside of DC. And then volunteer for projects led outside. So, you can lead a project, like I lead a lot of projects from Denver. And that puts me on the radar with the folks that are doing promotions, doing evaluations, and really understanding what's being done out of the regional offices. So it gets you on a lot of folks' radar. And network as much as possible. So network locally. So I network locally with other federal folks here in Denver, and that allows you to see sort of what other opportunities might be available. But also network on virtual happy hours or other things that are run primarily out of DC that lets you kind of stay in touch with them. So developing your brand. So we need to, it needs to be an active exercise. It doesn't happen unless you make it happen. So really developing your brand, looking at what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. It takes time and reflection, but as you're looking for jobs, you can really hone that. Think about how you want to be perceived. What is the way? Are there certain areas that you're very reliable in? You want to play those up and show that you can be really good, and that would be with the interview or in the position that you eventually get. Where you're trying to go, as Love pointed out, you might need to go into a job that's not necessarily your dream job, but that can be a stepping stool. So figure out where those goals are and how you can lay them out. And then how do you get there? So what are the steps? What are the things you need to do that might not be in line, but might get you a better position to keep climbing up towards those goals? Do your research. So understand what it takes to get there and what you need, what trainings, what other experiences. Again, volunteering helps with that. This was touched on before, but talk with successful people in your organization. More than not, or even almost all the time, they'll help you and talk to you if you're interested in what you need to move up. So how do you do this? You actively develop your brand. What are your possibilities? So again, you can learn your strengths and weaknesses, look at your experiences, what have you excelled at in the past, look at your marketable skills from recent jobs, sports you played, or community work. They all filter in at the beginning of your career for things that you can point to. Where have you had leadership opportunities? Where have you been able to build consensus? Where have you volunteered? This all shows your dedication, your ability to follow through, and your ability to volunteer for things that maybe weren't put right in front of you, but you took the initiative to go out and get them. And then continue to actively elevate your brand. So people know you in the organization, you start developing a solid reputation, then volunteer again for things outside your comfort zone. It shows again that you have a lot of initiative and that you want to build up your resume. And then finally, sort of make suggestions, provide justifications to management or your manager. That also helps that you're thinking beyond your current job and that you're proactively looking to solve problems and proposing how to manage, proposing to management how to solve those problems. So it's a continuous exercise, but it'll really propel you in your career.
Thank you, Justin. We'll hand it over to Lawrence President.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. Well, my name is Lawrence President. I'm actually a senior federal recruitment advisor over at OPM, and I've been at OPM for about 6 years in that role, and I also manage the Pathways programs for the federal government. Before that, I actually worked for the FAA for about 9 years. And I was a corporate recruiter over there, and I managed the Minority Serving Institution Intern Program over at the FAA. So I'm happy to be here. It's my second time speaking to King's College. I spoke a couple of years ago, as Jeremy mentioned, And today I'm here to talk about Pathways, the Pathways programs for students and recent graduates. And the Pathways programs are actually the federal government's premier internship program. There are other internship programs out there, but this is actually the premier internship program in the federal government. And in this program, it was created in 2010, December 27, 2010, through an executive order signed by Barack Obama. And actually what it did was create 3 paths. And in a nutshell, the Pathways programs are just opportunities for current students, recent graduates, and those that have obtained advanced degrees to come in and work in the federal government. So it's a win-win for the federal government, as well as the participants that are involved in the Pathways program, because it allows individuals to take a look at the federal government, and at the same time, it allows the federal government to take a look at individuals that could possibly work for the federal government on a permanent basis. And it's actually, Pathways is actually what's called a hiring authority. It's actually Schedule D, hiring authority. And what a hiring authority does, it just allows, it's still competitive to get into the Pathways programs, but it's less competitive because you're only competing against individuals that are either in school or they've recently graduated from school. So just breaking it down, there are 3 different elements. The first one is the internship program. And that program is actually for current students or students that have been accepted for enrollment. So if you've been accepted for enrollment at least half-time, or you're a current student, you're eligible to apply for the program. And like I just mentioned before, it allows current students to explore federal careers while they're still in school. So it's a great opportunity. You do get paid while participating in the program. And as a participant, one thing you want to be, if you actually feel that you would like to possibly work permanently in the federal government, when you apply for a particular Pathways position, and as Jeremy mentioned, USAJobs is where you apply for these opportunities. You want to make sure in that, and you're going to apply via a job opportunity announcement. It's called a job opportunity announcement. And be sure, if you feel that you would like to possibly work permanently, that the particular position you apply for indicates that it has the chance for conversion. So conversion, this means that you will be able to possibly obtain permanent employment if that is your goal. So you want to look for that in the job opportunity announcement. But in regards to the internship program, you can be hired on a temporary basis for up to 1 year, or an indefinite period until you complete your degree. So, a lot of different ways you can come in the internship program. As an intern, you're gonna receive a. You're not required to do an IDP. The government uses a lot of acronyms. IDP just stands for Individual Development Plan. But hopefully, an agency will allow you to create one. And even if they don't, I recommend you create one yourself. It's just a roadmap in regards to what you want to do in regards to your career. That's just called an individual development plan. So as an intern, you're actually not going to receive a mentor, but having a mentor is a great thing. And just like our previous speaker mentioned, you definitely want to get a mentor, someone that you can bounce ideas off of, help you navigate through the federal space as well. And the next program is the recent graduate program. And that's for individuals that have recently graduated within the past 2 years. And in this program, it starts to focus on career development, as opposed to the internship program, where it's really you coming in, getting your foot in the door, you're working on different projects and things of that nature. But here with the recent graduates program, it starts to focus on career development. And as I mentioned, it's open to individuals that have graduated within the past 2 years. But you can start applying for these positions up to 9 months before you graduate. So, and that information will be in that job opportunity announcement. And it's the job opportunity announcement, again, it's just a job ad. The federal government calls it a job opportunity announcement. And that's located on USAJobs.gov. But here, there is an exception to the 2-year window. My veterans out there, any veterans out there can possibly have up to 6 years to apply for the opportunity. So, you want to keep that in mind if you're a veteran. And here, as I mentioned, the recent graduates program, it focuses on career development. So here you're gonna have to complete 40 hours of interactive training. You're gonna receive a mentor. You're definitely gonna receive a mentor as a recent grad. And some agencies could possibly offer a 2-year program. That's not the norm. But if it's a position that's in high demand, like some of these STEM opportunities and things of that nature, where it's hard to fill those opportunities, it could possibly be a 2-year program. And then last but not least, we have the Presidential Management Fellows Program, which is the third element of the Pathways program. Some people call it the PMF program, just an acronym. And this is for recent graduates that have received advanced degrees, either a professional or graduate level degree, such as a master's degree, a MBA, JD, law degrees. So these individuals have received advanced degrees within the past 2 years. And this program is a 2-year leadership development. So it's the federal government's premier leadership development program. It was actually started back in 1977, but it was revamped in order for the federal government to be able to go out and get the best leaders out there. And here in this program, you're going to receive a senior level mentor, most likely either a upper level individual, GS-15, or SES, senior executive, individual in the senior executive service that will be mentoring you. And you're going to have to complete at least 80 hours of interactive training as a Presidential Management Fellows participant. And the Pathways programs are great programs. Right now, I think it's about 181 opportunities out there as of this morning on USAJobs.gov. And in order to apply for these opportunities, the internship and recent graduates opportunities, you can apply through USAJobs.gov. Those opportunities are out there. They change quite frequently. Opportunities throughout the country, as well as Washington, D.C. And with the Presidential Management Fellows Program, those opportunities are announced in October every year when they open up. And that opportunity is usually open for about 2 to 3 weeks. So that's the Pathways program. I definitely recommend, if you're interested in the federal government, the Pathways program is the way to go, the way to get in. One way, there's a lot of other ways too, but this is really the premier way for students and recent graduates to get into the federal government.
Well, thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you.
Well, at this time, we can open it up for questions, if we have any.
Students can feel free to unmute if you have a question. If not, I have a couple that were submitted, but I'll give anybody a chance to unmute.
Why don't you start with the questions in the chat room? Beth?
Sure. So these were some questions that were submitted by students when they registered. Most of the questions that I saw you guys covered, so I thank you. But here's a couple that I think we haven't touched on yet. The first one is, what areas of federal work might someone look if they were interested in working or dealing with other countries or international work?
This is Love. I can take that one. So it depends on exactly what you want to focus on, but obviously you want to look at opportunities at the Department of State, the Department of Defense. USAID is another area that has a lot of overseas opportunities and focus. And there are a lot of niche areas within all of those, and Department of Commerce, a whole host of other departments and agencies have international components, even ones that you wouldn't necessarily assume would interface with foreign entities. So depends on what area you want to go into, right? But lots of agencies and departments have internationally focused opportunities. For Department of State, if you're looking at becoming a foreign service officer, there is an exam that you have to take and pass to get accepted into those kinds of job opportunities. But again, there are a whole host of things like within the Department of Defense, which is where I work. And I want to be clear that I'm speaking on my own behalf and not the government's when I talk about this. There are organizations like the Defense Security Cooperation Agency, or DSCA. You can Google that and see that they work with foreign governments to sell equipment, and they have all kinds of different interaction with a host of foreign governments. So you can be as niche as that, or you can be as broad as a foreign service officer that will get moved around to different countries working with the Department of State.
Thanks, Love. Beth, any other questions?
I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure, go.
I believe it was Jeremy who talked about the project management. I was curious if he did his PMP certification through PMI, and if he did his CAPM certification first, or if he was able to skip that and just do it through his hours worked.
Yeah, so with my previous roles, I was able to take the PMP directly. With my previous jobs and hours worked, I didn't have to do the CAPM. But yeah, it's a highly sought out certification within DC and just across the country. If you Google it, it's in the top 5 of most sought out certifications.
Awesome. I have one more quick question for you. I'm in the middle of taking my CAPM course right now, since I don't have the hours as being a student right away for the PMP. Do you have any specific, I guess, tips or tricks to, get great test scores other than just studying directly for it? Or if you have any like tricks of the trade that can help with that?
So you can sign up for a course that will prep you. There is virtual ones and there are in-person ones that will provide you with all the materials that you need to test, and they'll give you 2 or 3 sample tests. I would highly recommend doing that because it is a very hard, very difficult test. The other thing I would do is just reach out to someone that you know and see if there's ways that you can jump on a project or a program to really understand the flow of it. Once you understand how project management is structured, it makes it a lot easier to take that exam.
Thank you.
This is Love. I just saw someone in the chat asked a question about opportunities associated with forensic accounting. And I want to let you know that you will be a hot commodity if you have training or have studied accounting, particularly forensic accounting. Highly recommend you take a look at financial management opportunities within DOD, so Defense, Homeland Security, and Justice, because they're always looking for those skill sets. They're very, very hard to come by. And also the Government Accountability Office, GAO, almost all of their auditor positions require, I think, 24 hours of accounting work, and they focus on their portfolios span the entire federal government. So they dig into issues, whatever issues of the day come up that the legislative branch is interested in directing them to study. You also might want to look at the Congressional Budget Office if you're looking legislative branch, and then again, executive branch. Every agency and department is looking for folks with those skills, but DHS, DOJ, DOD are big ones. And that work and commerce as well. I'm sure IRS. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a few ideas, a couple of agencies and departments to think about.
Can I follow up on that question?
Sure.
Right.
I know that within the research that I've done for forensic accounting, you have to have your CPA license. Do you know if there's any other licensing that is required for forensic accounting, or is it just the CPA license?
I think for most positions, it's just going to be the CPA license. It will be dependent on the agency or department though. So you'll have to look at individual job announcements to determine that. But CPA, I think, is usually the main one required. And actually, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I personally worked my first 14 years of my career in financial management, not in forensic accounting, but with the accounting community kind of adjacent. And they are always looking for folks to fulfill roles in all kinds of auditing projects that are huge right now. So whether you want to go directly into the government or work for a consulting firm that supports those activities, you'll definitely be in high demand.
Thank you.
Beth, do you have any more questions from the chat room at all?
Yeah, another question that was asked previously, and I'm sure this is relating to the events of recent months, but someone was just wondering about, is it scary to live in a city like DC?
This is love. I can take that one too. And I say that because I came to the federal government and in my first year here, I moved to the DC area in 2000. I live in Northern Virginia in a suburb. Within the first couple of years of me living here, September 11th happened and I was in the Pentagon that day. We had anthrax attacks, anthrax being mailed, and the DC sniper shootings happening all around. So yeah, those were obviously scary times, but I will tell you that, and by the way, I grew up in rural Alabama. My parents were ready to drive up in a U-Haul and pack me up and take me home. But I'm glad that I stayed, and know in the last 15 years plus, it has not been a scary place to be, regardless of some of the civil unrest that has occurred. I think a lot of the media reports that you've seen on things that have happened in the last year have portrayed the city in a way that most of us who live in the area wouldn't consider to be 100% accurate or realistic. It's a great place to live. It's a great area to live. Obviously, it's very expensive, but you get what you pay for, and the access to all of the highest levels of leadership in the government, is invaluable, and it's all here. So while obviously you can work anywhere in the country as a federal employee and have lots of opportunities, the highest levels of leadership are all right here.
To add to Love's point, the infrastructure is so strong here that you could live all the way out, and I live in Annapolis, Maryland, but you could live out all the way where I live and jump on a metro and be in DC for work early morning and get back home. The way we're set up is you could basically live in Virginia, Maryland, or nearby, get to work no problem, and be home and live in a different environment. I think that's the greatest attribute of DC. And it's so diverse. It has a lot of opportunity in and around the metro area, and there's just, you go from mountains to water, on the Maryland side, and mountains in the Virginia side, that you can do whatever you want. So I think it's a great place to live, great place to work. Justin, Lawrence, anything else to add to that point?
Yeah, this is Lawrence, President. I would agree with you and Love. It's a great place to. I'm actually from Washington D.C., so I'm biased. I grew up in the city, and in regards to, and I used to manage an intern program for 9 years, and a lot of the interns would love to come here if they could. So we used to bring them all here at first and have the orientation here, and then, just let them see what's going on, because a lot of the headquarters in regards to a lot of the agencies is in Washington, D.C. So, the other opportunities were actually in the field, so to speak. So I think it's a great place. Just like what you said, Jeremy, access is great. You can jump on, you can live in I guess they call it like the DMV now, anywhere in the DMV. And you can get to where you need to get to in no time. So I would definitely say yes.
Yeah, I would just add on to that, Jeremy, that DC is a great place to go and experience. And if you decide once you're there, it's a heck of a lot easier to go from a headquarters position to a regional office than straight into a regional office. So you might get there and love it and stay. But it's a great place to give an opportunity to and see how you like it.
Okay, any other questions from students? Do you have any more from the staff there, Beth or Rose?
I think most of everything has been covered. if any students are on, if we didn't cover something that you were looking for, now's the time to unmute and let us know.
Okay, with that, Jeremy, any last words, Jeremy?
No,
Lawrence?
I want to thank everybody for their time. I think Monarchs, you're doing a great thing. Just reaching out, preparing, looking at all your options. I wish I would have had a program like this when we went to school. This is fantastic. I'm so grateful to John and Beth and Ed for letting me be a part of this program. So take it all in. All these materials will be available to you. You can reach out to Beth and you can reach out to Patrice. We've got plenty there for you. What I'll do is I'll leave this information up here for you for the next minute or two, but you can always get it from Beth or Patrice. Reach out to us, send us a message. Maybe we can connect you with somebody that's in your field. Maybe not, but that's how it all gets started. And so, don't be afraid to reach out. Maybe it's not something that works out in DC. Maybe it's something that works in another region. But if you want to do something, first step you got to do is expand your network and don't be afraid to ask for help. So with that, have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of the KWAC Virtual Career Day. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Right, and I want to thank, as a host here, I want to thank Jeremy and Justin and Love and Lawrence for your presentations. That was very detailed and very excellent slide presentation also. And also want to thank the students for their participation, or at least their attendance, and hopefully they were able to soak up a lot of information that was given today. I also want to point out the fact that we've had 2 sessions today from the Career Day, and we still have 3 more sessions on Thursday. So those of you who are interested, if you wanted to register for those, the first one is the resume and interview tips at 4 p.m. And that's followed by rewarding and meaningful careers serving our great republic, talking about the executive and the legislative branches. That's at 5 p.m. And then the last one is the management consulting in Washington, D.C. and beyond. And that's at 6:15 p.m. So those are the 3 on Thursday. Looking forward to seeing some of you and maybe some of your friends participating. With that, have a safe night, and hope to see people soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
all so